Hello and welcome to my channel. This channel is all about reading audiobooks from Erin Hunter or similar books. The book I will be reading today is called Alpha's Tale, and it is a super edition within the series Survivors, written by Erin Hunter. Chapter 1. If Pup narrowed his yellow eyes against the sun-dazzle on the snow, he could imagine he was stalking a great deer. He moved through the trees like a shadow, placing his pads carefully so as not to crunch on exposed pine needles. One paw raised, he froze, pricking an ear forward. An icy breeze blew his prey scent to his nostrils, rippling his mane of fur, which was almost as thick now as an adult wolf's. Pup lowered his muzzle, snuffing silently at the crust of snow. Soon it'll be a real deer, he thought, or even a giant fur. I could take either of them. He was close to becoming a full adult of the pack. Then he'd bring down huge prey with his comrades. This is how I'll stalk. This is how I'll defend us all against the bite of the long cold. Pup shifted a paw, edging sideways to remain downwind of the creature. I'll bring many deer to the pack to fatten our bellies for ice wind. Red fur flashed again between the pine trunks. A few wolf strides ahead. Yes, deer, he thought hungrily, and elk and mountain goats, and the creature he was stalking sat up on his tiny hind legs, sniffing the air for prey of its own. Or weasels. Oh well. Pup breathed a silent sigh. Keep your mind on the prey at hand, Pup. After tonight it would be different. After tonight he'd run with the pack's hunters. After tonight he'd have his name. In the dense forest Pup couldn't see the horizon, but he knew where it lay, and he gazed longingly in its direction. That was where the full moon would rise tonight. That was where the pack would gather and give him his wolf name. Impatience, excitement churned in his belly. What would it be? Because Pup was nothing. Pup was the name given to all young wolves. His true name would be given to him for his ferocity, perhaps, or his tracking skills, or the long strides he took as he ran. Long stride. He liked that. But it was not his choice. His pack would name him, and that was as it should be. He felt his tail lift with pride, and then it slumped back, and he blinked. The weasel! I lost it! A growl rumbled in his throat, but he held it there. You fool! If you're not going to be Pup anymore, stop acting like one. Determinedly he followed his muzzle to the ground and paced silently forward, nosing out the sharp tang that would lead him back to his prey. There! Pup went still again, lowering his shoulders. The weasel was sniffing around a rabbit burrow, mad with hunger itself, and it didn't see him coming. Pup sprang, snapped, and flung the weasel to the ground. Not quite dead. It twisted, bared tiny teeth, and bit wildly at his swiping paw, but this time Pup had it. He seized its thin wiggling spine and crunched, feeling it go limp in his paws. You should have been a deer. Next time. Pup trod back up the slope to where the trees thinned out and the snow was deeper. A grey wolf sat there, gazing down at him and holding the corpse of a white rabbit beneath one powerful paw. Mother wolf. Pup dropped the weasel respectfully before her and licked her face in greeting. Pup, I watched you. His mother wolf, graceful, caressed his jaw in return. You're a fine hunter already, but you need to concentrate. She sounded amused rather than angry. I know, I was thinking too much about the moon. That's not surprising. Graceful's voice was soft and full of affection, as they turned together and carried their prey back toward the pack den. I can't believe you've grown so fast and so strong. Tonight will be the finest in your young life, Pup, and I already know you'll make me proud. She hesitated, glancing back toward the pine forest, and her voice grew quieter. I know your father would be proud too. I wish he could be here to witness your naming ceremony. I wish your littermates could be here. Pup felt the old twist of sadness in his belly, but it was muted now. He'd never known his littermates, after all. Too weak to survive. They'd died within weeks of their birth. He had been the strong one. Sometimes he wondered, with a vague longing, how it would have been like to grow up in the rough and tumble of a big wolf family, with brothers and sisters around him, and a wolf side to watch as they learned to play and hunt and fight together. No. Even if his siblings had survived, there would have been no wolf family, at least not a real one. His father, after all, was no wolf. Pup nuzzled Graceful as they walked. He wished his mother wolf could be less sad. Talking of her lost pups and mate always made her melancholy. She couldn't think about them. Not tonight. Pup was proud anyway of his own survival, the sturdy determination that had seen him through. He and Graceful were the family that mattered, the two of them, and, of course, the pack. The others were resting together in the low golden light of sunset as he and Graceful padded back into the sandstone-walled valley. Wolves sprawled on rocks, soaking up the last of the sun's rays, or played fought in pairs, or nibbled fleas and ticks from one another's shaggy coats. Some rose to greet Graceful with a lick and a soft whine. Many of them didn't. No wolf took any notice of Pup, but he didn't mind. He was used to that. After tonight, he knew, it would be different. "You take them both to the prey store," Graceful said, dropping her rabbit and nudging Pup with her nose. "Let them see you contributing your prey to the pack." Pup gave a whine of happiness and carried both her rabbit and her own weasel to the prey store, in a small dark cavern beneath the rock. There was a fine haul there already. Hunting had been good, and the pack would share tonight as they always did. He was backing out of the shadowy overhang when he heard voices above him. A slab of sandstone jutted out there, catching the last sun, and two older wolves lay on it, gossiping lazily. "Should be a good howl tonight," growled one. "Bold," Pup realized, recognizing his voice. "No clouds. The moon will be bright," agreed the other. "Fleet. The great wolf will hear our howl and answer us." "Pity, in a way," yawned Bold. "The last howl wasn't such a perfect night, when Stride and Daring got their names, and tonight's it's that half-breed runt's turn." Pup went still, his blood running cold in his veins. "Oh, it hardly matters," said Fleet. "Whatever name he gets, it won't be of any consequence. He'll be Omega soon enough." "True." Bold gave a rumbling grunt. "How did a wolf like Graceful take up with a filthy dog anyway?" he muttered. "No wonder most of the pups died." Pup felt his heart shrink inside him, and he crept from the prey store, his flanks pressed close to the rock wall until he was safely out of sight of the two elders. He knew what the pack thought of him. He should be used to it. Yet each time he overheard their snide remarks, it was as if the great wolf had drawn a sharp claw across his belly. If it was just him, he wouldn't mind so much. But Graceful? She was sitting alone as usual, he saw, as he looked across the small valley. Self-possessed as she was, he knew she must be lonely. His mother wolf never had been forgiven for taking a dog as her mate, and for giving him pups. Would things have been different, Pup wondered, if his father had lived? Would they treat Graceful with more respect? Would they even, perhaps, have accepted her half-blood offspring more easily? Probably not, he sighed, still eyeing Graceful, and padded on. He was jolted out of his reverie when something collided with his shoulder. "Watch it!" a young wolf snapped, her fangs grazing his neck. Pup started. He'd walked right into a small gang of his pack mates, and he accidentally shouldered Daring, of all wolves. She had a vicious temper the best of times. "Sorry," he began. "So you should be, runt." Strident curled his muzzle and growled. "Why can't you look where you're going?" "It was an accident," snarled Pup. "Now let me through." "Ha!" Daring hunched her shoulders and stalked around him, stiff-legged. "You don't tell us what to do, runt." It was too much. Her contempt and Bold's overhead scorn made anger flare in Pup's gut. His huckles sprang erect, and he faced Daring full on, his lips peeled back and his own teeth showing. "Back down, runt," Daring barked a laugh. "You can't challenge me when you don't even have a name." "Back down yourself," he snarled. "That works both ways." Challenges were only permitted between fully grown wolves. Not that he was afraid of Daring. She was only a few moons older than he was. If she wanted to ignore the rules, he was more than willing to fight. "You lot!" The angry yelp made the young wolves turn as one. Beta was watching them, his eyes cold and hard. Daring shrank back under his stare. "What do you think you're doing?" Beta snarled. "Daring, see to Alpha's bedding. Strident, Fleet wants a young wolf to take a message. Get out of my sight. And the rest of you, go." As the wolves bounded hastily away, he snapped. "Not you, Pup." Pup couldn't help crouching lower as Beta growled at him. For long moments the pack's second-in-command was silent. Then he curled his muzzle back from his teeth. "After moonrise tonight," he growled, "you can be beaten in any challenge you choose, but not before. Do I make myself clear?" Pup tipped his head, but this time it was as much to hide his anger as to show submission. So even his Beta thought he was destined for nothing better than Omega status? "I'll show them all," Pup thought grimly. "I'll prove my blood runs as fierce and strong as any of theirs." As soon as he had his name, he'd challenge Daring, and he'd thrash her in fair combat. And then he'd fight his way up the hierarchy, one wolf at a time. He climbed the ranks till nobody dared treat him or his mother wolf with disrespect. "I'll never be any wolf's omega." Pup looked to the place where the moon would rise, and swore it to the great wolf himself. "Never."